evening and welcome to the FE Bar. I'm your host, Jack George Maynard, and Pico, well, he's not here with me tonight. He is on his Christmas do. So stepping in is current laps Kyle Holloway. Tonight, we'll break down the action from the Sao Paulo Eprix as Jake Dennis took victory. But as always, it was an eventful race with safety cars and red flags. Pepe Marte's huge crash was a major talking point to see, and with also all the radio communications played a part in the accident. But remember, we cannot do this show without you. So make sure that you join the Discord by hitting !Discord in chat and come on the show. Kyle, your debut on the FE Bar. Pico's not here. He's eating his Christmas dinner somewhere in the world, in England right now. So you're here. Welcome. I hope you enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be good fun. And thank you for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure. Obviously to be part of the Formula E community and to be invited to talk about what a wonderful weekend we had.
I'm sure some wonderful people will put your link in YouTube, and you can make sure you go and subscribe to Current Lap because you've been putting out some really awesome videos lately. So we were very, very, very excited to have you on. But I suppose we have to start, right, with the race itself. It was chaotic. The normal Formula E standard of chaotic. How did you find it?
Very, very exciting. I think my heart rate after the race for about a couple of hours was just buzzing. Like, we got everything in that race. Unfortunately, red flags, but it did spice it up at the end. We had that one lap dash. Yeah, what an amazing race. And obviously, for anyone who doesn't know me, I really started watching Formula E last year, and I witnessed Sao Paulo then, and it was very similar vibe. It's such a good race for anyone getting into the sport because, yeah, it's almost like it stirs up chaos on its own without, needing any provocation from the FIA. So, yeah, absolutely buzzing. Obviously, the results was not what I was expecting, and that's what I really like about it. We're already into a sort of, this is not what I was expecting.
Yeah, I suppose it all started off, the craziness started off in qualifying, right? Because Pascal Wehrlein, to be fair to him, right, started brilliantly, basically took pole position, but wheel spinning in the pit lane cost him those 3 places. And, he ended up finishing in 4th. But the craziness kind of started there. Obviously, as we all know, Jake Dennis won the race, but it came down to the safety car, and that's the thing with Formula E. It's not luck. I don't think Jake Dennis won by luck, but I was kind of amazed with Jake Dennis because when I was watching him in qualifying, when I was watching him in practice, and you're looking at that Andretti thing, it does not look like a good car because they're wringing the neck out of it. It looks like he was. Like a bit like Max Verstappen in a sense, forcing that car to be there where it shouldn't have been like he was at the beginning of the season, right? And that's what the Andretti did. So for him to get it into the Jules and as far as and to get to the final, I didn't think Jake Dennis was getting to the final, right? And then to go on and win it, and obviously he had that attack mode, and as soon as the safety car came out and I realised him and Dragovic, I was like, they could both be on the podium here.
Yeah, I agree. I think he did have a very good weekend, though, and he did extract everything out of that car. To compare it to Wehrlein, though, he was on a different pace level. He was doing 109s, was it?
Yeah, he did the 110s. Yeah.
So I do think that Pascal, hands down, had the best pace on the weekend in terms of that one-lap pace. But I do want to say that I do think that Jake Dennis did a good qualifying. He did a good race. So he fully deserves the performance he got.
Yeah, if we look at the qualifying time, so Wehrlein did he actually went faster in the semi-final when he beat Ticktum. He did a 109.804. In the final, he did a 109.882. Jake Dennis actually went slower again in the no, that's the Vries. I'm looking at the Vries this time. In the final, I didn't write down Dennis's time because it was pointless because the final was already over. We already knew Dennis was on pole. But Ticktum, right? Poor Ticktum, and I know there's going to be a lot of people who wanting to speak about Dan Ticktum, and we'll take your calls on because that semi-final was pretty much arguably could have been the final because the Ticktum was so quick and was seriously unlucky because Dennis's time in the semis was a 110.039, so he was 2 attempts clear of of Jake Dennis in that stage, and obviously missed out. Did end up starting second, but on another day that could have been another pole position potentially for Dan Ticktum.
I think it also shows where sometimes the qualifying, the Group A and Group Bs is important to try and get in the top positions for those, because obviously again it could have been completely different had he been in a different position. I don't have the exact order. I think he came last of Group B, but had he come, can't read my handwriting, I think it was above Da Costa, then it would have been a completely different outcome and we could have had a different pole position.
Yeah, 100%. So it's just amazing. It's those fine margins in Formula E, and it comes up quite a lot. Those fine margins. So we're going to dump into Kiro and all that lot now as I just quickly switch back to my notes. But obviously we've got to talk about the crash of Pepe Marti. Now, we had radio communication issues all weekend, right? And we'll be speaking to, so a little bit of a preview of what's coming up. We've got Tobias Wirtz from eFormula News coming on at about 8:30, and then we've got Nyck at 9. So we'll have a real in-depth analysis about what kind of happened and get their sides of the stories with the radio communications, as both of them were in Brazil. But FP1 was cancelled, right? So we didn't go through with FP1 because of these radio communication errors. And then we're hearing that going into the Saturday that we still had these problems, right? So interestingly, the question is, and it hasn't massively been answered yet, is whether or not Pepe Marti heard, the race control. So was it the full course yellow screen came up and that's when he started braking? Because it might have been the other two in front of him got the message and was slowly starting to get to 50 kph, whereas he's still at full racing speed and then braking down to 50 kph and he had no time. Obviously, he's admitted fault, but it was a scary crash, and these radio communication problems, and Cassidy was saying, quite clearly, and we've seen that he didn't have any radio communication. So if Cassidy didn't have any, the question is, did Pepe Marti? And I feel like that needed to be answered, because yes, he's got a big penalty. He's starting from the back of the grid. So maybe he did hear it and he's just made a mistake, and maybe he thought, right, I'm just going to brake as soon as I see the full course yellow signs. Because you do have 5 seconds to get to 50 kph. So it's not like the full course yellow is out and you have to be bang on 50 kph. You've got a 5-second grace period. It doesn't sound like a lot, but these cars can decelerate quite quickly. So what was your overall impressions, and when you saw it live for the first time, what was your thought process? What do you think, trying to explain what had happened?
It was quite a weird one, wasn't it? Because obviously we had was it Mitch Evans in the wall, which brought out the safety car or the yellow flag, and then they cut away from that accident into this Cooper Kiro that's in a million pieces and lots of carbon fibre across the track. So, and that was our first implications. We saw the car was on fire before we kind of knew how we even got to that. So obviously it's amazing that he was okay and he got out of the car straight away, but it was kind of like what is going on here? So, and then watching the replays back, it obviously looks very scary. I do think it is. I think he got a little bit caught out. He probably didn't get the radio message, and if he did, he probably was trying to get into the mode of what do I do here? Because remember, he is a rookie, and I think you're allowed to make mistakes, and that was quite a big one in terms of a crash, not a mistake, because obviously he's just been caught out by a bit of speed. But watching the replay back, he doesn't look like he could swerve. I don't know if they're allowed to do that if they're about to crash. He kind of hit one car and then into the back of Da Costa, and the next thing he's upside down.
Yeah.
So, I think you can put it down to rookie error. No one has confirmed, did he get that message or not. You can see through your analysis video when you've gone frame by frame, that it was going a lot faster than probably he wanted to be. But again, this is Formula E. There's regen braking. This is probably new to him as well. In electric cars, they do slow down on their own when you let off the accelerator. Well, I imagine it works the same as an EV, which you can kind of tell. And then if you really want to stop, you just put the brake on. So, but I don't know. The two cars in front stopped very fast, and Pepe Marti looked like he was 50 miles behind them, as in 50 miles an hour behind him.
It didn't look like at the beginning stage. It didn't feel like it was going to lead to what it led to. But there was rumours or murmurings that Da Costa in front had slowed down quite significantly beforehand. So and was already very probably at kph, 50 kph pace, nearly there by the time the full course yellow was called. But to bring it into a positive before we start taking some calls, because I want to take some calls before we hear from Tobias. I thought, if we just to end on the Pepe, I thought it was a positive weekend, really, because obviously he missed FP1 and obviously he adds the extended FP2 session. I was looking at his lap times, and all of a sudden by the end of the session they were comparable, right? And then he's up there in P7, and he had that attack mode as well. And I was like, hold on a second, right? If he plays this right, if he doesn't have this full course yellow incident, he's got an attack mode, he could still fight his way through the field and maybe get a top 5 potentially. So it was actually quite a positive weekend, I think, for Pepe Marti, just taking away the crash.
Yeah, and I think it's just an accident, isn't it? And if you think to other motorsports where rookies start, they can have the big one in the first race. And if you look at Formula One, Isaac Hadjar, he had that crash in Australia, and then he was really the best of the rookies, I think, in that sport. So this is just that sort of same situation, and I think we should allow the drivers to be rookies. I think it's a lot harder when they come into a team that is fast, who can get results. But yeah, I think he had a really good weekend. He could have gotten the jewels. I think, give him a couple of races and he'll bed in really nicely.
Nice, right. Let's take some calls. We're going to stick with Kiro at the minute, and we're going to get here from Luti. We're going to get Luti in first, because I know he's probably got a lot to get off his chest, and also with Dan Ticktum. Luti, you're live on the FE bar. Thank you for your phone call, and what would you like to talk about?
I would like to talk about the race.
Yep. Good start.
Yeah, good start. It was actually a fun race to watch in a way. After turn 1 then, but entertaining race, that's the right word.
Yeah. Well, let's talk Dan Ticktum, right? Because I know you're a big Dan Ticktum fan. So quality start, right? Let's start with the positives, right? Before we talk into the not so good. Obviously not really his fault. But I asked, and if we go back to the interview that I did with him, right? And you're thinking, you had such a good season last season, but this powertrain's 4 years old, right? Whereas the other powertrains are now 2 years old and hopefully have taken a step forward. So for him to be as quick as he was, right? To be in that, the semi-final basically, but to be really the quickest loser of the semi-final, right? And quicker than what Jake Dennis did. Did that surprise you? Did you think going into this season that, he could potentially still be challenging for pole positions? Or did you expect some form of natural drop-off?
Expect a little bit of drop-off at this point. I would expect them to be better than the beginning of last year, but worse than at the end. Because they're now used to the car, so that helps. But yeah, I was surprised. Also, talking about the speed in qualifying, but also in the practice, and I think they had the third fastest 300 times and stuff like that. So that seemed really, really positive. And in the race, we didn't really get to see it, of course, because turn 1 happened. But if you look at what Marty did, that also seemed promising. So I'm positive that maybe some good things can happen this year still.
Yeah, I think positive. Let's look at the turn 1 incident then, because it's one of those. It's unfortunate. I think, in my opinion, I think de Vries, obviously is at fault here and has gone in far too deep. Were you surprised that he didn't get penalised or not even looked at in terms of an investigation?
Yeah, to say this, maybe it should be nominated for overtake of the year. He overtook 2 cars before 1 corner, so that's an option. Maybe the FIA can do that. I don't know. I find it mind-boggling that there's not a penalty for it. To be fair, I did learn a lot today in the Discord channel. So if people are not in the Discord channel, go to the Discord channel. A lot of information is in there.
What did you learn? I haven't looked at it. So what did you learn?
that communications is not the FIA's strong suit. That's something I learned in this because, like, I was watching with somebody that was watching Formula One normally, and I was watching the race with him yesterday in a rerun. And like when you look at the race, you don't get any information about what is happening, and you're like, why isn't this being looked into? Whatever. Apparently, it was looked into.
Okay.
But only it was noted or something, and the stewards did look into some data and concluded that everything was fine. So apparently it's okay now to crash into people in front of you if you brake on your normal braking point or something. I don't know how they think of that, but apparently it was looked into, but it didn't result into a document because it wasn't further looked into.
Okay. So, yeah, it wasn't really under investigation sort of thing.
Yeah, but they did investigate the data. So to me, as a viewer, that's like you're investigating it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I find it just weird.
Carl, what was your thoughts on that one incident?
Well, yeah, actually thinking about it, yeah, he didn't actually get a penalty, and I'm thinking, actually he did cause. I mean, it could go down as a racing incident, but Mortara was, penalised for not stopping when he was kind of pushed off, and I know obviously they have those regulations.
He wasn't.
So, yeah, was he not? That penalty got rescinded.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
we'll talk about that in a second. Once we'll talk about that.
May I make a point about that? Because Mortara indeed got a penalty because he went straight on because Nyck became a terrorist in turn 1. And Nyck also went straight on, but he didn't fully stop. I don't know the full reason for that, if that's the rule that you need to fully stop, but he didn't fully stop.
Yep. No, it looked like he was the old Lucas de Grassi thing from London. I think what was that, season 8 or 9, where he was gliding. I think it was right. So
yeah, it looked like that. So I don't know if anybody knows the actual rules on what the race director said that should be done. But yeah,
we'll ask our man Tobias Wirtz when he's on.
He's probably read the sporting code, hasn't he?
He's probably find out. He was there. He was there.
But let's be real. Like what happened was you crash out somebody in turn 1, no penalty, not even investigation, not even a reprimand of don't do that anymore or whatever. Then you get Pascal and Dan both having the tiniest bit of wheel spin, and that get penalties. Like in law, you normally have like a proportionate thing of the crime needs to fit the punishment and stuff like that. That's gone here at this point. In a way. Also, what I don't understand by the FA, how Pascal did it in qualifying. He got a free place grid drop.
Yep.
Normally, when you have a free place grid drop, that's a 5-second penalty that you could not take in the race. Then it gets turned over into a free place grid drop. Okay, so it's a 5-second penalty. Then did it in the race, and all of a sudden it's a whole drive-through penalty? Like, how is that comparable to a 5-second free
I think the drive-through was they didn't set the car to 0.
He had 2 drive-throughs.
Yeah, he had 2 drive-throughs.
He did have
2 drive-throughs. He had one for wheel spinning and one for what you said. Yeah, working on the car before it was in a appropriate state.
So how is that the same thing? That's like not understandable for me as a viewer. So that's what's really FIA-related stuff.
I do understand. Yeah, a drive-through penalty. If you got a free place grid penalty and a drive-through penalty is much worse than a free place grid penalty. Like it's significantly worse. It's a 30-second time, but depending on how long the pit straight is. I know it's probably not.
In this case, it was a very short one, I think. But basically, a drive-through is normally a 30-second penalty. If you had that
in Mexico, for example, it's a much longer pit lane in Mexico than it was in Sao Paulo. So and Shanghai and things like that. So. Those things
so
be
weird.
Taken into considerations, but I
want to make one more point, if I may, from the Nissans. They both had a moment.
Yes.
Also, penalty-wise.
Yep.
Norman Nato was on the outside. Roland was on the inside. Roland was, slightly behind, but still besides Nato.
Yep.
Nato turns in like Roland doesn't exist on the planet.
But I thought this was Roland's fault.
in my opinion, not. But we can differ on that. But that's not actually the point in this case. The point is, in this case, they gave NATO a reprimand for it. So they say it's your fault you're doing this. Apparently, Roland didn't get any penalty.
Because hold on, because
NATO got the
NATO got the puncture, right? So he came out worse.
Yeah, but,
so NATO.
Yeah, okay,
but NATO was on. So to me, the reason why they collided for me was because there was a Kira right in front of them, right? And NATO had kind of nowhere else to go, right? So the Roland's behind. For me, I'm a bit surprised by that because for me, Roland was behind, and therefore
Roland was a bit behind, but still beside him.
But he could. It's his teammate, by the way. So just back out of it. Back out of it. Why are you going up side by side against your teammate like that? Why are you putting For me, if I'm Tommaso Volpe, right? They may have given the penalty to NATO, right? Fine, or the reprimand to NATO. But I'm looking at Roland thinking, well, you're not helping the situation. You're not helping the situation.
Yeah.
Why are you going side by side where the corner's getting tighter? And you've hit. For me, Roland's hitting. I don't think NATO's hit Roland. I don't know, right? Half a dozen, whatever the saying is. For me, I saw it as Roland knocking into NATO, right? And NATO really not really having much to go at in terms of. But why put yourself in a position? Why put yourself in a position where that could happen? Like, don't do it.
Yeah, true, but. In my opinion, cars exist on track, and you need to give room to them when they're beside you. But the thing I find weird here is that in this case, NATO was on the outside. He went to the inside. Roland was there. NATO got a penalty in a way of a reprimand for it. So not really a penalty, but like, don't do that again. Roland didn't get anything. But if we go back one race further to London last year, corner, NATO was on the outside, Dan was on the inside of the corner. NATO's also steers in like Dan doesn't exist in the planet. They hit each other. NATO doesn't actually get a puncture or anything from it. And in that case, the penalty was, you should not exist on the inside of the corner. You get a 5-second penalty and a penalty point on your license. How the hell is that different?
Yeah. I don't know.
So,
the FIA penalty systems is the FIA penalty systems. But Luke, we have to let you go because we've got Tobias coming on in 1 minute. But great call. So I hope we've answered everything. If not, just rant on Discord.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming on. I think that was a good chat.
Yes. Yeah.
Right,
thank you
too.
Speak
to you soon.
Good
all
evening.
Right. Thank you. Right. Bye. Okay. Yeah, interesting. I wanted to make a quick point, right? Because we brought up the Mahindra thing, and maybe we'll build on this. But I was actually really disappointed with the FIA because they did rescind Mahindra's penalty, but Mortara's penalty, and I was like, hold on a second, right? That's affected their whole race, right? So because they had to completely change the way that they would have attacked that race, and then all of a sudden, right? They've got a 5-second penalty, and then it gets rescinded at the end. I know he doesn't finish the race, but let's say he finishes the race. They've attacked the race so different, they didn't have to do it. And I was like, well, why did you give him a penalty in the first place? That annoyed me. Anyway, while we're talking about penalties, let's hear from Tobias first. Let's get him into the call. Tobias, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on. I know you've had a very, very busy weekend in Brazil. How are you? How did you find it, first and foremost? The heat must have been nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening. Yeah, I'm back since about 8 hours, I think. Had to go to bed after arriving at home, but Brazil was great. The weather was really, really nice, and I think the race was worth an FE bar. Let's say it that way. Very, very many things to talk about.
Yeah, there was loads and loads of things to talk about. Let's talk about these penalties and the radio communications. That's where I really want to dig in. We've got Nyck at 9 as well, so I'm going to try and get his insights and what he found out as well. Try and get and then put both of it together, and hopefully we've got a real detailed analysis of what these radio communication problems were. Obviously they started on Friday, and we obviously lost FP1. So I text you actually. It was quite funny because it came up on the live timing screens, and I texted you, and it was like, oh, hold on a second, and then everyone seemed to find out. But what was the situation going through at FP1 and these radio communication issues? And then it wasn't really solved, as we sort of found out on the Saturday. We did go racing, obviously, but they weren't really solved. So what was sort of the halfway house? What did they find acceptable then that they could go racing that they couldn't do in FP1?
That's a really, really good question. On Friday, they had very different kind of problems, let's say it that way. One of the problem was that race control was not able to contact the what's the word? Sorry.
Is it like the medical side, safety side things? Because normally that would be a big issue. Or is it something different?
Yeah, it's partially marshals on track,
Okay.
and partially medical teams, for example. So this was an issue. Another issue was that there were some teams that had no radio communications at all because of a frequency problem. I heard on Saturday. But to be honest, there was not really any kind of official communication regarding this. I just heard that there have been problems on Saturday too. But regarding Pepe Marti, a colleague of mine and I spoke to him on Sunday morning. We met him at the breakfast. Yeah, and he said he had no radio communication issue. So he heard the countdown from race control, 3, 2, 1, full course yellow. And you explained it already. The drivers have 5 seconds time to slow down to 50 kph. And I saw that Antonio Felix da Costa was reducing his speed quite quick. And Nico Müller had to go left to avoid crashing into him. But those two drivers were all good. They reduced the speed during this 5 seconds. But Pepe Marti said he misjudged it. He tried to stay full on throttle as long as possible to probably gain half a second or something like that, just by reducing to 50 kph at the latest possible moment. And he misjudged it simply. And then he hit Nico Müller first, and then Antonio, and then he rolled over.
That's
So
really
would you put that down
that's
to
really
a
interesting.
rookie error then, like what I mentioned earlier, just being a rookie in that situation for the first time?
Yeah, I think so. And it was a place on track where the cars go really, really fast, between 230 and 240 kilometers per hour. They're driving at that place where the full course yellow was called out. It was on the back straight. So very, very, very heavy crash, and of course a safety issue. To be honest, it reminded me of the crash of Oliver Turvey some years ago in Rome, when he forgot that there was the practice start at the end of free practice, and he crashed into the cars that were standing on the start line to do the practice start with more than 200 kilometers per hour.
God, I remember that. Yeah, it's a good point. You know what I found interesting there from your explanation and with Pepe Marti? Do you think, because he's come from that F2 world, and finding those small gains are so important, right? So finding that way to steal half a tenth or half a second or even a second, right, by going as flat out as possible, and do you think that's where his brain, and hopefully he'll learn, right, that maybe I can't, because Formula E cars are so close together, right? We race so close, whereas Formula 2, they can be quite spread out. So gaining half a second somewhere, or gaining a second by going as late as possible to gain that advantage, do you think that's where his mindset probably was?
I think so, yes. To be honest, in Formula E, it doesn't make a big difference if you reduce the speed half a second later, because the slipstream effect is so big, especially in Sao Paulo. You don't really gain something, and that's what he's not used to. So that's one of the reasons why this all happened. Yes.
Yeah, so it's incredible. So what? So let's turn our attention back to the radio communication issues then. So they had major issues on the Friday. They've seemed to resolve most of it on the Saturday, but you've got drivers like Nick Cassidy saying, "Well, I can't hear, the race direction calls." I've been saying this, and it's caused a huge crash, even though technically it didn't, because if Pepe Marte did hear it, then obviously that wasn't the reason, the radio communications for the crash. It was just a simple misjudgment. But we could have had something potentially where there was a big crash because maybe Nick Cassidy himself crashes into, and at that point he's in third place, and you never know, he could be going into the race leaders, for example, right? So when did you find out about these radio communication issues were maybe hampering, and did you speak to any other drivers in the media pen? Did they have similar issues to Cassidy? Was it more widespread, or was it just a few isolated incidences?
Unfortunately, I can't tell you. I did not ask the drivers in media pen because, to be honest, in the race there was so much happening. I had so much to do's after the race to talk to so many people. Radio communication was not the first or second topic we're thinking about at the moment.
But I understand that the media pen is such a scramble. For any of you that don't know, right, the media pen is a scramble. You literally elbows out, and Tobias will know this because I do this all the time. It's literally elbows out, and you've got to get the drivers that you need to get, and if you don't get them, you don't get the coach. That's your only opportunity to get it. It's great in a way because everybody gets an opportunity to speak to the drivers, but when you desperately want to try and get a piece of information, it becomes much harder because obviously,
absolutely,
as Tobias points out, like there's so many people that you need to speak to. Like you can't just wait around 5 minutes waiting for one person in a 15-minute session. It is crazy. So I fully understand how you maybe that wasn't the most important thing to come across. But let's talk about the race itself. What was your biggest surprise? Because we put here a bit of winners and losers, and I've put Mahindra DS Penske, and I kind of want to talk DS Penske here because they obviously made the big signing of Taylor Barnard and so forth, and it didn't quite work out. And I feel like they haven't done much last season. I wasn't expecting a big shift from them. What was your sort of surprises of the race or storyline that you think, I want to follow that up going into Mexico and Jeddah?
Yeah, I think again a topic was the timing of several teams and drivers regarding attack mode and safety car and full course yellow. If things had worked a little bit the other way, we could have at least 6 different race winners.
Yeah.
To be honest. For example, Antonio and both Porsche were had bad luck with the second attack mode, and Pepe Marti had bad luck with the second attack mode, as did Filipe Drugovic, who was on the way to P2 probably.
Yeah.
He's someone who really impressed me in his first race with Andretti. Pace was not so good. He made a beginner's mistake in qualifying.
Yeah.
Misjudged the turn-in point at the chicane. Started from the back of the grid, and then had a great pace in the end, and was on P5 and then heading on the podium. But then he made a mistake also in the full course yellow.
Overtaking.
yeah, he did not press the button early enough, as did Pepe Marti. But he didn't hit anyone. He just overtook Pascal Wehrlein and Nick Cassidy. And this brought him 2 penalties, one for driving too fast.
Yep.
That was a 5-second time penalty, which brought him back to P12. And overtaking was another penalty he got. And because he was out of the top 10, that's a new rule this season. If you're out of the top 10 and you get a time penalty, you automatically get a grid drop for the next race.
Yep. So not the greatest for Dragovic, and you're right though. It was a very promising race from him. Andretti were my winners list, but I was surprised by their pace because, as I said earlier, the Andretti's, it looked like they were in qualifying. They were really attacking the car. They were really fighting it, really, like to keep it on, just to keep it going. And it didn't look quick on the TV, but Jake Dennis proved that it was quick, right? Because he got into the duels. But when you're looking on TV and even the commentators, I remember Sam Bird and James Rossiter looking at it and said, "Oh my God, this is not going to be quick, but it's quick." And you're like, fair play. So it kind of surprised me, and even their strategy. Obviously, they both had that attack mode to go, and that basically is what helped Jake Dennis win the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at it, all 6 of the Porsche powertrain cars were really quick. And yeah, I think that's something we have to look at the upcoming races.
Yep.
Maybe it's a very special thing of Sao Paulo. Yeah, to be honest, it was Pascal Wehrlein's 3rd pole there in a row. What means the Porsche powertrain or the Porsche car was already good there last year. Yeah, but all 6 of them were doing good. And if the turn 1 incident did not happen, yeah, I think Luthi already said very much about it. Then Dan would have been able to score good points, I think, too.
Yeah, 100%. Toby, rest up well. Are you going to Mexico? Is this like a new thing now? You're going to all the races? Because I was surprised. I wasn't expecting. I know that you go to a few races, but I just from testing, I can't remember us speaking about you going to Brazil. So when I saw you were in Brazil, I was like,
"Oh, we did, Jack. We did.
We did. Oh, I forget.
Yes,
I forget so much."
Okay. But one thing I have to add.
Go on.
I spoke to the stewards quite long about quite a big number of topics.
Go on.
One thing was the inconsistency of the decisions regarding wheel spin. Okay. Antonio did wheel spin in free practice. He just got a reprimand.
Yep.
Pascal did wheel spin in qualifying. He got the 3 races grid penalty, and Dan did it in the race, and he got the drive-through. And the stewards told me that this is not because of inconsistency, it is because the teams wanted it this way. So that means the more important the session is, the more heavy is the penalty for the same mistake or for the same infringement.
Wow, interesting. That's really interesting. Good way to end, I think. Good way to end.
For another thing, for example, tire pressure too low. Yep. I think we will see this again during the season. Yeah, in free practice, it's just a fine.
Yep.
In qualifying, it's cancellation of all the lap times done with
the load,
the wrong pressure. And in the race, it's a drive-through penalty.
Okay, so one to keep an eye on then going into the season, and make sure you note that down. Everyone note that down. Your homework is to note that down and make sure that you remember that. Make sure you remember that. So that's why the penalties are different. So I love that bit of explanation there from Tobias. Tobias, have an amazing Christmas, because probably won't speak again until like maybe in the new year or so forth. I'm sure we'll probably talk at some point. Something will happen. But
thank you guys. You too, of course.
Have a great Christmas, and we'll see you for Mexico.
Perfect.
Right, we'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Wow, that was interesting, wasn't it? It's always interesting when Tobias comes on, right? Like, really interesting with Pepe. That it seems like he had no issue, so it was 100% a misjudgment, and it's really nice now that we've got some sort of communication for that, and the penalties there and changing all of that is really intriguing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take more of your calls, because we've got Nick at 9 at 9 o'clock. We'll take a break before 9. Don't go anywhere though. But we've got Nick at 9 coming up. So let's take some more calls. So we're going to stick with the Kiro type of thing and actually speak to Kiro. And we'll try and get a couple of calls in before 9 o'clock. So we'll speak to Kiro. Kiro, how are you? You're on the FE bar. Welcome in. I am assuming I probably know what you would like to talk about.
Hi.
I will let you talk about it.
Hello. How are you?
Not too bad.
Hello.
Yeah, I've just had to. Sorry, I'm at a pub for my mate's birthday. I've had to walk out.
That's commitment.
Dedication.
I'll give you that.
I love that.
Yep. But I'm here. I'm on Formula E, the FE bar, which is my favourite show, by the way, guys.
Thank you. It means a lot.
I'm also unemployed right now, so if you guys want to offer me any position, I'm happy to take it.
Nice plug.
Okay. Yeah. I am absolutely annoyed at Kiro. Not me. The team after what the fuck we just saw on Saturday.
Swearing.
Because fucking hell.
Swearing.
Sorry, my bad.
Don't make me dump you and put you back in the waiting room.
Freaking heck, guys. Honestly.
But what are you upset about? What are you upset about? Because they did a good job. Like, they did a good job. Like, you know, Dan there and Pepe was doing well as well. It's just unfortunate.
It's more of directed at the FIA, because I don't understand. I said in the pre-race show, I don't understand this wheel spin penalty thing. It makes no sense to me why they'd have that. And
so we kind of answered that in the show. So it's for safety reasons, right? So it's basically because there's people. So technically, when you're wheel spinning in the pit lane, the car is technically not under your control. So,
but they don't care about safety, do they? They sent the drivers out without any communication. They sent the red flag, during after the red flag. I think it was Cassidy didn't have any communication what was happening. Cassidy and Dennis. It was they had no idea what was happening, and they sent the drivers out on again. It should have been delayed, the restart.
But that had already been happening, so that was a known problem. So that problem wasn't new. So it wasn't it was just we were made aware of that problem, that it was still happening. But that was a problem that these drivers would have known about way before the start of the race, potentially. So I was all for restarting, because we have a 30-lap race. You still got 2 laps to go. Why not do the 2 laps? Because you've got 2 laps to go, right? So,
well, I mean, I think that could be very argued as in a rookie's just gone into the back of someone's car and 2 drivers don't have communication to race control.
Yeah, but it turns out that Pepe seems to have had.
That's an if, though, isn't it? That's an if. Obviously.
But yeah,
I just don't think that should be a penalty, in my opinion. But each to their own.
I think Dan was out of the race though from lap 1, really, because he had to have his tyre changed. So wheel spin or not, he would have been at the back. Yeah. Yes, a safety car might have brought him back into it a little bit more, but I think Dan's race was over after De Vries decided.
Yeah, I think they did make the good decision to retire him, because they wouldn't have gained anything really for keeping him out.
Yeah, it is what it is. Right, Kiro, we'll let you get back to the pub. And your friends.
Thanks. I'm not enjoying it. I don't know why I got a Guinness. I don't like Guinness. But
there's other drinks of choices that you can enjoy the rest of your evening with.
I don't know how the Irish do it. Okay, thanks for having me on.
No worries. I'll speak to you later.
Right.
Other drinks are also
Yeah.
available, guys.
Indeed. Right, let's get Natalie on. Natalie, hello, you're on the FE bar. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm not too bad. What would you like to talk about?
You caught me halfway through eating rice cake, so I do apologise.
Quality content.
It's all right. We'll let you finish your chews. And
So
give
yeah,
Daniel-
Nick Cassidy mainly.
Go on then.
Ooh.
Let's talk about Nyck Cassidy because Citra and I have here as one of my winners. I was going to probably talk about them in the second hour. Great result, obviously, for him to get a podium. Didn't look like it. Kind of struggled in qualifying, but again, he just shows he's kind of the master, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly how he started his career with Jaguar, if you remember.
Yep. Quick as always.
Mm.
I think he's kept his form from last year as well, from the last
Yeah,
couple of races.
exactly.
So
You know,
what would you like to explore?
I've always rated Nick as a driver from his Envision days to now. You know, he's always a nice driver to speak to after races because I have caught him a couple of times after London, and he's always had time for a quick picture. He's always been quick out on track, and yeah.
I think we call that well-rounded, isn't it? A driver that can come into a team, especially a new team, well, not a new team, but a rebranded team, and keep his form. Because obviously, I think Jag were, very quick at the end of the season. Maserati were kind of in the middle, and he's come in and got a podium under that new name, and I think that's the caliber that you pay him for. So yeah, I agree. He's done really well.
100%. And also, thank you FIA for the halo because that could have ended really badly otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. Cassidy though was aiming for podiums this season, right? So when we spoke to him in our interview, he was, I said, what's achievable this season? Is it fighting for a championship or is it just trying to nick a good result here and there? And it was pretty much nick a good result here and there, and he's done that. And what Cassidy I think is really good at is he manages a race really well because he came in with those attack mode at the right moment, and then I thought it was more luck, right? I thought it was more luck in terms of he might have fallen a bit further back once his attack mode finished, and other people like Pascal Wehrlein and so forth had to take theirs, but the safety car came out at the right time, and then he's able to hold position and get that podium. He disagrees with me though. He felt that was pure strategy.
I think it's a combination of both. Because while the strategy did work, I think he did get a little bit lucky as well with the safety cars and the red flag.
Yeah, that's what I thought, right? So I wrote in my race report that he was a bit fortuitous. Like, he probably would have finished in the top 5-6. Like, I'm not saying he wouldn't have not finished there. So to start from 15th and end up in the top 5, great result, right? Hats off to him, brilliant. What a recovery from a tricky qualifying session. And then all of a sudden, he finds himself in the top 3, and I was like, okay, so I can see why he said it's not luck that we got there, but he would have probably been around that place, but maybe not on the podium.
Yeah, I think he'd have finished at least. He would have finished in the top 5, but not on the podium. I think because was it Oliver that started to take his attack mode, or
Oliver was
someone
the
else
first.
below him?
Ollie was actually the first one to take his attack mode. So Ollie didn't think he'd finish P2. Like, he did luck out, and he admitted that he lucked out. He was aiming for 5th and 6th. Right, was Roland. That's what he was aiming for.
Especially from where he started as well, not even getting into the duels, which was
No.
the kind of the shock for Oliver Rowland not to be in the duels. But I think he had a very good recovery.
To be fair though, I'm surprised Nick didn't make the duels either, or Mitch. Two great drivers. We've seen it time and time again over the past few years, and yeah, for them to not make the duels, it did surprise me quite a bit. To be fair.
And I thought Group B was full of more of I think Group B was the harder group to get into the top 4 as well. I think I haven't got the list, but I just thought that Group A had a bit of an easier run. It just seemed like there was less who I thought was going to be fine in the top 4.
But then that's what Roland got out in that though. That was the surprise, wasn't it? Because you'd expect Oliver Roland to make it through.
all the rookies were in it, weren't they?
Sorry.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Hold on, I did write it down so I can tell you who went out.
Yeah.
So I've got it here.
Because I remember texting my little brother because
so
he wasn't watching it.
Muller, Marty, Gunther, Ericsson, and Maloney were. So
yeah, because Maloney and Ericsson, I was like, they're not going to get in the top 4. They did a lot better than expected in the race, but I thought that group with the more rookies in it, I just thought, yeah, there's more chance of you getting an easy, quick one into the top 4. But
yeah, but
no, also
go on.
Sorry. Also with Envision, I've been surprised over and over again as an Envision fan. Personally, it hurts me to admit this, but I do get surprised and very upset when they don't make the duels, because I know that the team can do it. It's just a case of stringing a app together that actually counts.
Yeah. That's the thing with in Formula E, isn't it? It's one of those. It's consistency.
You win the
is king,
team,
right?
yeah.
Consistency is king. It has been consistency in Formula E has been king for seasons, right? You don't even have to win every race. You don't have to win every race. You could win one race. You could probably win 1 or 2 races in Formula E and still become the champion if you're consistent, right?
I was just about to say Ollie last year.
Yeah, but Ollie was exceptional. Like, he was winning quite a few races. He won a good number of races. But, like, let's say, like, Maximilian Gunther, like, he won 2 races. If Maximilian Gunther was more consistent and won those 2 races and then was, like, consistent, right, in the podium, top 4, top 5, he would have been there. He would have been there or thereabouts on the final day.
Yeah.
He would have been there or thereabouts. But that's the most important thing is consistency.
But to be fair to Max, I just don't think he's had the machinery underneath him this year, or last year, or the year before. But hopefully, with this new chapter with Taylor as his teammate, hopefully that team will go in a positive direction this year.
Hopefully too, but for their sake, because it wasn't a great start. Natalie, we're going to let you go because it's nearly 9 o'clock. And I've got
my
some
favourite
news.
improv comedy group
Yeah.
have just booked a show in Nottingham in June.
Nice, enjoy.
So yeah.
But yeah, thank you for coming on, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Have a great Christmas as well.
It's a pleasure. You too, lads.
You.
And Pico, if you're listening, Merry Christmas, mate.
Yeah, he might listen to it back, to be fair. He's probably... What is Pico doing right now? It's 9 o'clock. He's probably finished his dinner, and he's probably getting drunk. Let's be face it.
Probably. No, Pico, let's be honest.
That's probably what he's doing right now. So he ain't thinking about the FE bar right now.
Cheers, man. Pico.
All right, we'll see you later, Natalie. Thanks for coming on.
See you later, lads.
Okay, so as live TV and live radio and live everything that we're good, we have a slight delayed Nick at 9. He's checking out of his hotel. I can't believe you can check out your hotel at 6 o'clock in the evening in Brazil, but he's checking out. He said, can we just push it back 15 minutes? I'm like, okay, that's fine. So
he's paid extra, hasn't he,
he's
for
paid
a late,
extra. Yeah, for that late checkout fee. So
checkout.
We'll continue taking calls, right? And then we'll hear from Nick at 9:15 or 9:10, and then we'll take a small break before Nick comes on, and then we'll continue with the show. But this is a perfect time to say, come and join. If you can, this is your chance. If you're new round here, ! Discord. Get in the Discord if you're not already, or if you're in the Discord and you're watching, come and have your say on the race. This is the only time that you ever get. So let's get someone who has done that, and Masur Khan. I haven't heard from him for a while. Masur, hello, how are you? You're live on the FE bar. Hopefully you're there. I know you're muted at the minute, so I'll give you a couple of seconds. What would you like to discuss? If you're not, we could drop you back down until someone else, because it's always the fun bit. There you go. He's not ready. Clearly not ready for the situation. So
questions.
We'll get Ricardo in. Oh, Ricardo. There he is. He's finally dropped in. Ricardo, you're on the FE bar. How are we? Thank you for waiting. And what would you like to talk about?
Well, firstly, hello guys. Welcome,
hello.
Kyle.
Thank you.
And yeah, so apart from Antonio, because it's a usual topic with me, I want to talk. I want to talk about Mahindra
Go on. I'm very happy about
their
this.
current situation, because what we saw from Mahindra this weekend was the potential they brought us in testing, but also the lows we saw from last season and the last 2 seasons, actually. So yeah, we saw a good weekend pace wise from both Mahindras. Maybe Edo had the slight edge or in qualifying, but then at the start Nyck was quite clumsy, and
Right.
and the thing is, he ruined this race, but also injured a bit Edo's race, and of course took out Ticktum because of the puncture.
Hmm.
So yeah, if Mahindra do deliver, they have to deliver not only on pace but also from racecraft from both of them. And I think I pointed this. I don't know. I think it was in the watch along, maybe, or in the Discord, that I said that Nyck needs to start to calm himself down and be a bit more reluctant to sitting positions if needed. Because what we see from De Vries, I'm not saying that Mortara doesn't do the same, because we have seen some cases with both of them that have been pretty bad in the past. With Nyck, it's more usual. And if they deliver to the potential they have, they need to focus on the bigger picture.
No,
What do you think?
I agree. Nyck is like this, right? And race one, lap one. James Johnson just said, "You're a champion," right? And he called it unacceptable in the commentary box. Which, when I listened to it back, when I watched the race back again on the Sunday, I was like, I didn't even catch that, right, on the Saturday coverage. And I was like, yeah, you have to hold him. He's our first ever world champion. I hate saying that, because it feels like it's a bit like the Premier League, where football Formula E didn't exist until it became a world championship. But he is the first official world champion, and you feel like you should be driving better. You should know that the race is not, especially in Formula E, it's not won and lost in the first lap. To outbrake yourself going into and hit Ticktum and destroy his race, and then hit your teammate and destroy his race by giving him a penalty, right? What do you say when you walk back into the garage? And you just have to hold your hand up and say sorry, but you're not expected, right, to be that driver that should be putting their hands up and saying sorry. I'm expecting that from a Pepe Marti, for example, maybe getting that wrong because it's his rookie season, or someone who's less experienced, not a Formula E world champion.
Do you think he's a bit clumsy though? Because you remember back to Jakarta, didn't he run over Dennis's front element or wing?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, we saw this from Nyck all the way from season 6 and most notoriously, I think it was in season 8, because it was basically moving or the braking in every battle he had. We almost felt like every driver from the Formula E paddock and some other championships, it felt at one point. Yeah, it's his character, yes, but he needs to look at the bigger picture, and in a race, especially in this type of races, the peloton style races, you have to be patient, because at some point the race will come to you. I was watching the race and basically I was following the race, the top 10, and let's just say, and I saw Edo, and as a whole, without the penalty, and of course without the crash he had with Lucas, I think he could be on for a top 5 at least, maybe a podium, because the potential is there. Like I said, they need to sort themselves out with win on track battles.
Yeah,
I think
it'll
I
come.
think both Mahindra and Nissan both lost out on serious points because of them battling with their own teammates. Obviously, I know the Mortara incident kind of ironed itself out, but especially with the NATO and Roland, that could have been more points. They could have been, above Porsche.
Yeah, basically. And very quickly on Antonio, the potential is there. Like, yeah, he got a bit of bad luck with the crash, and hopefully Pepe got out of there unscathed. But yeah, basically ended Antonio's race. But the potential is there, and to out qualify and out race Mitch from for the whole weekend, basically, I think it's a good start for Antonio, and let's see. Although I think Jaguar as a whole are maybe at the same point they were in the mid part of the season last season. I'll say I think there is some potential in there, and we saw that from Antonio. His race pace was good. His qualifying was actually good. In the duels, yeah, he got tennis, but if we see in the bigger picture, Dennis took pole and Antonio only qualified sixth in a race in season 11 was won by Mitch, who started last. So yeah, I think it's good, and we will see from here onwards. But I think it's promising for Antonio.
I think he had a good race. I think, he would have been sixth if that incident, well, round there if it hadn't happened. And I'm glad that they didn't just red flag it and call it off, because I feel like we deserve a good race at the end. So, but Da Costa's pace over the weekend I thought was pretty good for coming into a new team and, getting where he did. So I think we'll see it come Mexico and Miami that he'll probably be in the top 10 consistently at least.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, I think I honestly I think it will take time. Like, he's still got to adjust, isn't he, Da Costa? Like, he's going to adjust. It takes time to he's got a new team, new way of working in a sense. Like, I think it'll come good. It was a strong start, a really good platform to build on, right, going into Mexico. It would not surprise me one bit if Da Costa wins a race this season.
I hope so. Look, because do you know what? Because he's just come back with good energy. I think he's got a great contract because he can do the endurance series or WEC. Can't even say it. So that was something he wanted, wasn't it? To be able to do Formula E full time, but also be able to be in WEC as well. And then obviously seeing from what we know from the driver series and just knowing from the paddock, the tension in Porsche. I think he's happy where he is, so I think he'll just get more results being in a better place anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Right, Ricardo, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, thank you guys,
really
and
appreciate
Merry
it.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas indeed. I can't believe we're saying this. It's so sad. It's so. Where has the year gone? Like, where is the time gone?
We've been wishing it away, Jack. We've been going, come on, it's December when it starts.
Yes, in a sense, but then at the same time, you're like, no, I don't. To be fair, it's been a really good year. I've really enjoyed the year. A lot of good accomplishments, lots of Formula E stuff. So it's been a good year, but it's just like, time going. The grey hairs are beginning to appear. I'm getting old. It's not good. Right, Ricardo, thank you so much, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you guys. Cheers.
No worries. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to take a small break, so do not go anywhere. You can maybe make a quick trip, but come back, because when we will be back, we'll be joined by Nick Golding from Racing News 365. We'll see you in a second. Goodbye. Hello, and we are back, and we are joined by Nick Golding from Racing News 365. Nick, I know that you're still in. Brazil. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. Sorry, has that been my intro music, or has that gone out the window for this season?
I forgot it. I just
All
thought.
good.
Never mind. It's not Nick at 9. It's Nick at 9:15. So technically,
It's Nick at 9:15. Well, it's Nick at 9:15 for you. It's Nick at 6:15 for me. Because as you said, I am still in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Currently sitting in the hotel bar, having just checked out. I fly home tonight or very early hours of the morning in the UK. So I've been out here for almost a week. It's been a long one.
A week? You've been out there for a week? Wow.
Like a holiday.
I flew out Tuesday night.
Wow. But at least it's been the summer weather, right? So that's been pretty.
It's been toasty. It's been toasty apart from this morning seeing some rain and also getting a weather warning on my phone for severe rain. But hopefully it'll be absolutely fine. We'll see.
We'll see.
You might just get an hour on the tarmac while you wait for them to clear that.
I hope not. I want to get home.
Yeah, let's make sure you get home and get home safely. What I was going to discuss, let's talk about the radio communication stuff, and obviously we talked about that. Obviously, it cancelled FP1 and so forth, and we were talking to Tobias earlier, and interestingly, he said it was about marshals and team to team radio wasn't quite the greatest. So was that the case with what you see? Did you find out anything else to add to that?
Yeah, so different drivers effectively were receiving different things. So obviously, as I know, people have seen, Nick Cassidy had nothing. So obviously, everything that he was getting told during the race was from his race engineer rather than from the marshals or race director. So of course, that made things pretty dangerous. Of course, there were some question marks over whether that played a role in Pepe's massive crash, if Pepe couldn't hear. From what I've heard, it feels like Pepe perhaps could hear, and it was more obviously a mistake on his part. But nevertheless, there was quite a few drivers on the grid who could either not hear a lot, or in Ollie Rowland's case, he could hear, but it was really, really quiet to the point he had to turn up the radio in his car to the highest it could go, and it was still almost like somebody was whispering to him. It's an interesting one, yeah. So even though obviously we had first practice cancelled on Friday afternoon, Friday evening, it still remained a pretty significant issue across the entirety of the E-Prix, and I know it will be interesting what points come up about this in the driver briefing in Mexico City. Will the drivers question whether any session should have even taken place with the radio communication issues, because it's quite a significant thing at the end of the day to be able to hear the countdown for a full course yellow, a safety car, a red flag. Obviously, yes, there are marshals waving flags, but Formula E is so interesting where it has that direct communication between the race director and the drivers. It's quite special, and it works really well for the championship. In my eyes, it's a dangerous scenario. We're lucky that Pepe was absolutely fine. Again, from the sounds of it, he could hear what was being said. It was more his error. There are other incidents, where we could have seen something else happen. So the bigger question for me is, why couldn't a solution be found? Why couldn't it be fixed in time for any session on Saturday? And, at the end of the day, should we have had any session full stop?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people
do you reckon they would have pushed on to make sure that the race carried on? Because, again, you don't want to cancel your first event over a communication issue. Do you think they pushed through to try and get the race going and just going, right, it works for some, let's go?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also interesting that I'm pretty sure it's Nick Cassidy, if I'm not mistaken, who during the red flag was kind of saying, don't restart this. We can't hear what's being said. And it, thankfully, at the end of the day, everybody was okay. We didn't, everybody's okay. That's the most important thing. But it's going forwards, is this a risk Formula E wants to take again? I think the drivers are probably saying no. Everybody was kind of not laughing and joking, but, pleased to see that they got to the end of the race.
Yeah.
It's just, it wasn't a good look, let's put it that way, particularly for your first session of the new season to be cancelled for a communications issue. It's not great for the series.
This been a double header, do you think it would have cancelled the Saturday race and just pushed through and rectified it for Sunday?
No, I think they would have gone through with it. They would have seen that ultimately we did get through the sessions okay. It was only because we had such a chaotic race that the issue became more significant. Had that been a green flag race from start to finish, you probably wouldn't have heard any drivers mentioned about it because they wouldn't have needed to be that communication between the marshals, the race director, and the drivers. I think it was more, it came to light more because of how many issues there were.
Yeah.
It's interesting the fact that they cancelled first practice because of the issue. Then, did every other session. So there's going to be. It's a shame, really. We've got to wait a few weeks for Mexico City because I would imagine this will come up in driver briefing.
Yeah.
And do you think we're talking about it more because of Pepe's crash? If that hadn't have happened, do you think we would have just seen it as less of a serious thing? But because of that accident, even though it may or may not be to do with it, it's kind of the look at that. That's kind of a big crash and what caused it.
Yeah, I think yes and no. Of course, that was a. You couldn't make it up that that's now back-to-back years we've had airborne crashes in Sao Paulo, and somehow Pepe had one bigger than Pascal's. I mean, fair play to the lad. I don't know how he's managed it. But
wait next year.
It's a funny one. I think for me, it's even had there been no incidents, it's obviously it becomes a massive issue when drivers are complaining about it and making people aware. It was only, for example, when the media event had finished that Ollie Rowland kind of had a joke at me, like, and I couldn't even hear anything, and it was like a whisper. So it's clearly something the drivers weren't pleased about. This is ultimately their safety at the end of the day, and it's important that something, it sounds simple, but something as simple as radio communication works. That could be the difference between having drivers being put into a dangerous situation they don't need to be in and not. Thankfully they reacted to the red flag, and I personally don't want to see it again. I'm glad we got through it and had a chaotic race, but it's something I think we'll hear again discussed in Mexico City.
For sure. Let's talk the Pepe Marti thing then. Let's continue on that avenue. You did get a chance to speak to him. He obviously got a penalty from that crash as well. He has to start from the back of the grid. What did you make on that penalty, and what did he make of it?
I think the penalty was fair. 4 penalty points and back of the grid start in Mexico City. I mean, I would imagine, I've not done my research, but since the super license system and the penalty point system came in across any FIA series, that's got to be one of the biggest punishments that's ever been handed out. And there's a good reason for that. This was a collision where we could have seen Pepe seriously hurt. Thankfully, he was okay. He jumped out, grabbed the fire extinguisher. Reason for that was that marshals were getting stuck, getting through a safety gate. And obviously he could see that the front of the car had gone under itself, was on fire and was burning the chassis. And of course he wanted to, try to ensure that as much of the car was usable in the future as possible. It looks like not much of it is. It was an absolute wreck. To be honest, I don't think I've seen a Formula E car in such a state personally. So it was a mistake. It was his error. He alluded to that, speaking to him after the race, and kind of pointed out that it was his error. He was caught out by how quickly Antonio and Nico slowed. He was obviously trying to find an advantage is the right word, but perhaps was trying to follow the letter to the book too closely, whereas of course experienced drivers know to slow sooner, whereas Pepe was trying to use the full amount of time you're allowed to go from the speed he was at down to the speed you're meant to drop to. I think it's something he's going to have learned massively from. It was a terrifying crash. It was again, it's still watching replays blows my mind that it happened again with an airborne crash. For me, and it was interesting as well because speaking to some of the drivers, we were discussing, is this circuit safe? When you have the close pack racing, particularly given the high speed sections and into heavy braking zones, and a lot of them pointed out that the track's okay. Yes, it's bumpy in places, but the track is largely okay. It was more just Pepe's error ultimately that led to the crash. But yeah, most importantly, he's okay. He would have learned a lot from this because he's a really nice guy, and he proved to be really quick. He was set for potentially a top 5 finish had he not had that crash, which is hugely impressive. He understood the pack racing really quickly. It surprised him how much contact there was during the race with experienced drivers, so he now knows in the future to get his elbows out a bit more. But yeah, for me, it was his mistake. I do think the penalty is right, and hopefully he can. He's now got to behave a little bit because 4 penalty points in one race. He's still got another year to go for any removes. So something to look out for.
Yeah, 100%. No, for me, when I saw the penalty, I thought if I was Pepe Marti, I'd be delighted because even though he's still learning, there's a higher chance of him potentially being towards the back. So starting at the back of the grid is not the end of the well. It's not like it was Oliver Rowland, by the way. Like, that would have been a bigger penalty, but then you can't make that change, if that makes sense, in terms of, because Pepe would have been near the back, you can't, say, well, your penalty needs to be different to maybe Roland got a penalty, for example. You can't kind of do that. Interestingly, though, did you get a chance to speak to Nyck de Vries, potentially? Because obviously he kind of caused the first corner crash. I don't know if you got a chance to speak to him.
I did. He was the first driver I spoke to, and it was the shortest interview I did the media pin.
I can imagine.
He put in. He said himself he misjudged his braking. He obviously, as was quite clear, braked quite a bit later than anybody else, and as a result, obviously made contact with Edo, made contact with Dan. Surprised gobsmacked, to be honest with you, that Nyck didn't get a penalty. I thought that was ridiculous, in all honesty, because that ultimately, ruined Edo's race. I know obviously Edo later got taken out by Lucas de Grassi, but that ruined Edo's race. It quite clearly ruined Dan's race. And then Nyck obviously got a puncture later on in the race. So for me, speaking to Dan Ticktum, who was quite colourful with his words, which will come as no surprise, wasn't particularly happy
Monaco, with. He called him the dirtiest driver. So them two not the best.
The way, the way Dan put it, he got Nyck de Vries. Dan wasn't happy, tried to be careful with his words that his quotes will be coming soon, of course, on Racing News 365. He was not pleased because obviously for Dan, one thing led to another, to him ultimately retiring from the race and just wanting to fly home. Yeah. So, it wasn't brilliant by Nyck, particularly when, Mahindra looked rapid in Sao Paulo, and that's already potentially a massive haul of points gone. So I think Fred wasn't happy. As a team, they'll be bitterly disappointed. And, it's interesting because if Mahindra are going to be in the title fight, whether that be in the drivers or the teams, or the manufacturers, they can't be affording things like this. This is a potential 15, 20 plus point haul they could have got in Sao Paulo. Likely would have done. They've now obviously still got nothing. They got two, should I say, obviously, because Nyck had remarkably obviously managed to, the red flag was his godsend, basically. But, nevertheless, 2 points rather than, a potentially huge haul. Yeah. Could be significant coming into the season. Little things like this makes a big difference in Formula E.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And before we let you go, so you can head to the airport and get yourself home. What did you find out? I know you'll have a snoop round the old paddock. Does Nick Golding? What did you find out? Anything interesting to keep us, waiting for Mexico?
Yeah, there's a few things in the works. So Mitch Evans obviously spoke to him in Valencia about Gen 4, his future with Jag. Fast forward to Sao Paulo and spoke to him again about it. Obviously, we've had the Monte Blanco test, which saw Antonio Felix Scosh and Stoffel Van Dorn driving for Jag. Obviously, as we know, Mitch was not at that test, and as of yet, he is still yet to receive any information on Gen 4 from Jaguar. He has not been told any information from Monte Blanco. He remains completely and utterly in the dark about everything Jaguar Gen 4, which he's quite eager to get his future sorted. I've got my own suspicions about whether he'll stay or go. I won't give that away just yet. Other things being is that, speaking to Jeff Dodds, obviously CEO, it looks like 70% of the season 13 calendar, so the first season for Gen 4 is already in place. Expect a couple of new venues. Zandvoort's still looking like a real possibility. They're keen to offer Zandvoort a long-term contract. The new UK venue, should I say, which again looks like it could be potentially a London venue, could be Brands Hatch. Looks like that's going to potentially be announced, or at least will be, done deal signed by Formula E end of January, February time, of course, before they have to send off the provisional calendar to the FIA World Motorsport Council. Things are moving pretty quickly, and it's interesting that, first race of season 12 done, and already majority of the season 13 calendar is in place.
Yeah, the work doesn't stop there. Interestingly, you didn't say Silverstone. Is that gone? Because that was number one. That was in pole position for a while.
Yeah, it was fascinating speaking to Jeff. I actually had a really good conversation with him, and speaking about, where are we going to go in the UK, and he made the point that, there could be a way to, continue at the Excel, maybe try a different layout. Obviously, turns 3 and 4 are the big issue, but the venue he spoke about the most. This could be something, this could be nothing, but quite typically, if somebody speaks a lot about something, it's normally a sign. It was Brands Hatch he spoke about the most, and he believes that Formula E has proven with the likes of Miami that it can easily do hospitality. Which was a question mark regarding Brands Hatch, is obviously would the hospitality be good enough, and he made it quite clear that Formula E can do it itself. It was Brands he spoke about the most. Could be something, could be nothing. Only time will tell, and I don't think we'll need to wait too long for that. Probably start of next year, I have a feeling within the next couple of months we will know where Formula E is going to be in the UK next year. Well, 2027.
Yep. Nyck, thank you so much for all your knowledge and your expertise.
You are welcome.
Have a great Christmas, by the way.
Christmas. That's coming up, isn't it?
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Have a great Christmas, and I'm sure we'll talk. And hopefully Chelsea cheer you up over the Christmas period as well.
It's not going well so far. Thank you, guys. See you later.
No worries. See you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Wow, some great insights there as well. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. That's why it's the place to be, the FE Bar, because we've got some amazing journalists who at the event come on and give you guys the best up to date information about what's happening in the series.
Not even commission either.
Yeah, not even commission. Just will come and tell us.
They do it because they love it.
They do it because they love it, and we love them. I know everyone loves them. But this is not final call with Search, but we've got half hour of the show left. If you want to get into Discord and have your say, get into Discord, have your say. Come on, and let's fly through some of these calls now. Master Khan is back. I'm going to grab him again. We're going to try and speak to him, and then we'll try and rattle through the rest of these calls. Master Khan, hello. Hopefully you can hear us now. I hope, and hopefully you could unmute. Hopefully you fixed your problems.
Can you hear me?
Hello, yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Great to hear from you again.
I forgot to unmute my speaker on the microphone of my headphone.
It's okay. It's all right. That's
all right.
You stuck around and we saw you back and we're like, yes, let's get you in. So,
okay.
What would you like to talk about?
Well, first of all, in my opinion, I think the whole Nyck de Vries penalty thing, you can't... I'm saying that everyone's like blaming and hating Nyck de Vries, but in my opinion, it's more the fault of the FIA and the stewards. It's up to them to penalize. If I were in like de Vries' place, I committed a mistake and then got away with it, I wouldn't complain. If you get what I mean.
Okay,
when the first turn happened, and like I saw the replays several times, and he punctured Dan Ticktum's rear left tire, I was like thinking, okay, there's a penalty coming.
Yep.
And then the race went on for 5 laps, and then it went on for 8 laps, and then it went on for 10 laps, and I like, wait, what is going on? That kind of scenario I was in. And secondly, I think the telecommunication issues were also pretty much unexpected. I don't expect anything like that from Formula E of all places, because I mean the lack of free practice data definitely showed when the teams were went out to practice the next day all in one go, and then we saw the Pepe Marti crash everyone's talking about. In my opinion, with Marti's crash, Marti has never experienced a full course yellow in Formula E conditions. He's raced in Formula 2 and Formula 3 in subsequent series, internal combustion engines, and those were completely different, braking power. There were completely different brake horsepowers and timings. In Formula E, you technically have to brake early. You have a heavy power steering, which is like more than the conventional for single-seater combustion cars. So those are like what I've noticed after the first race is that a lot of gray areas have opened up, and teams and drivers are gonna think about exploiting that come Mexico. I'm now getting worried about those gray areas that are popping up, because now you'll have a scenario where another driver could make a mistake similar to Nyck de Vries, and then he gets penalized because the previous instance wasn't penalized, and then the talks about unfair, it's unfair, and everything will pop up. So
I think they address this in the drivers' briefing day, don't they? Because the sporting regs, they adapt as things happen, which you can't plan for everything. Jack, was a full course yellow practice in the practice race?
Always.
Because I know they
It was in the practice race, and it was also we did have it in FP1 as well, but it's not the. Yes, it's not the same as a real when it's for real, right? You're in an FP1 session, bash, here you go, FP1 bush or simulation race. It's not really a race, bam. But when, as we were talking earlier about that mindset, and that he's potentially, thinking, I can gain a tenth, or I can gain half a second. If I do this, I might be, and if I can slow it down to 50 kph within that 5 seconds, I'm good, right? And so his mindset of being in that F2 driver that we were discussing earlier, I think kind of got the better of him.
I think that basically you can't simulate a realistic scenario in a completely different motorsport discipline. Like, think of World Superbike. I was watching various different racing championships, with Formula E being primary. I was watching the WRC, WEC, Superbike, MotoGP, Motocross. I was watching every major racing championship this season. And what I've noticed, each and every single championship basically had a very different type of control and brake horsepower. You can't simulate a realistic scenario, and it's not even enough in free practice either. Like, for a rookie, I was like, it's not surprising, but yes, that crash was definitely scary. And the fact that it was his first race, I'm feeling scared about the rookies, and particularly like Filipe Drogovic and Joel Eriksson. They're now full-time stints, although they had stints before. It has to be a wake-up call. I do understand that regulations adapt as with the things go by. Like, if you remember, after the experience with the Miami last season, when a safety red flag occurred, and then like half the grid had a second attack mode remaining, and so they changed that after that season blunder. But now, like, a lot of gray areas, these are like very futile gray areas that define championships. It literally defines the points and standings. I definitely was certain that Nyck de Vries should have gotten a penalty. If he didn't, well, good on him. He's just lucky. But now it's going to be a talking point in the long run as to
put it down to a race incident, though, because that might be what the FAA had seen. It's turn one, isn't it? There's always that sort of leniency.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it went down to. I think you're right, Carl.
It will, but imagine if this is a title decider, a championship title decider, and the contenders are in this scenario. Then how will the FIA react? How will the stewards react? That's my big question. You have to consider every possible scenario, and I know that there are things they adjust and adapt as things go by, but this can get risky for like Formula E overall, because it's been bogging my mind.
I get you. It's that consistency, but then as we learned with Tobias about the penalty system, it's like, when in practice it's this, in qualifying it's this, but in the race it's this, and you're like, oh my god, it's not the same for the whole. But then the whole way, so therefore you need to learn. All right, so is there just behind the scene rules that basically we're just not privy to, or we don't know too much about, where the teams have agreed that we want this, if this happens, and the FIA are going, all right then, so we'll do this, and this. So it looks like it's inconsistent, because you're like, well, that doesn't make sense to me. Why did you do this here but did this here? That seems completely different to this. But then it's like, actually, this is what teams have asked for, and you're like, oh, okay.
All right. Well, I can completely understand from both the perspective of both parties, like the FIA and the racing teams in general. But I do believe there needs to be a more in-depth analysis, because a scenario like this must be avoided come Mexico next year. Because if Formula E needs to keep telling itself they're a premier electric motorsport championship, there needs to be a level of a hindsight, a professional foresight or forecasting of like this scenario can happen. We should have something in place for a situation like this. The other question, I have another question. They said that in the new regulation updated, you don't have to finish your attack mode.
Correct.
So right? But is it like what happens if a driver finishes one attack mode and doesn't take his second attack mode?
I think that's different. So you have to activate both of them, but you don't have to finish it. So if you if you don't activate the second one, then there will be repercussions. You won't just walk out.
Then there could be penalty or disqualification.
Yeah.
But then
it's basically.
But the problem is, look how powerful attack mode was, right? I spoke to Buemi. I was like, could we find ourselves in a situation where you take it on the last lap, right? And he's like, no, it won't happen because it's so powerful, right? So, you want to take it. So I can't see us being in a situation where teams won't take attack mode. It's so beneficial to take attack mode at the right time.
Exactly. Like Jack, if I'm being honest, when they announced that you don't need to finish your attack mode, you're opening another gray area. That means they are not obliged to finish, say, 2 minutes or 4 minutes of attack mode remaining of their second attack mode. They just leave it for the final 2 laps, and it's enough for them to overtake. So again, you're opening another gray area. And
Nyck de Vries would have been disqualified. So if the race had happened the way it did, Nyck de Vries wouldn't have got those points. He would have been disqualified. And I think there was 1 or 2 others I think that also would have been disqualified potentially from that race because they didn't finish their attack modes.
It's just so many. It's like the new regulations has opened more questions than answers. I hate to say this. It's gonna be spicy, of course. I can see that, but it's going to be a lot of question marks with the new regulations than the ones we had previously. Because now I completely understand why the regulations had to change. It was a matter of safety. I completely support the whole wheel spin, start taking off when the car was in maintenance and those sort of penalties. I completely understand for safety reasons. But you can definitely picture a scenario where it's a crucial race, a point score, major crucial points, crucial moment in the championship. Maybe not the final, like midway through the race. Someone is leading, they finish their attack mode, and then another driver behind him is like still has a second mode, attack mode to activate, not far behind, takes the attack mode, and then with the maybe even if it's like a minute like 2 minutes of attack mode remaining with 2 laps remaining, still good enough to like overtake, even if it's a mid-range car. I can see that sort of scenario possibly happening, and you will see this regularly. Now, is it gonna be entertainment or is it going to be unfair? Is going to be a question. Then there could be a scenario where you can picture that the lead car is like about 5 or 6 seconds behind. They made a 5-6 second gap, assuming in rain or other conditions, and then the driver behind subsequently like second or third has not used the attack mode. The lead car has finished attack mode, both their attack modes, and then you picture 3 or 4 laps remaining and a safety car came out. And now the pack is bunched up, so the 5-6 second gap is gone, and then that with their second attack mode remaining, the car behind takes the attack mode, having no worry about overtaking. They go through full 350 kilowatts and they can maneuver on a straight. You will have that situation, which means it's not beneficial in the long term. So this gray area is going to be very interesting to look into. I've been thinking about this after hearing the new regulations, the possible scenarios.
You get that in all sports, so they're waiting for safety cars, but they never sometimes happen. So it is down to timing.
But think about it. Like, people talk about luck of the draw. Last season we had 4 rained races. 4 races were rained. Okay. Yes, the most number of wet races we had in Formula E season, and I tell you what, in those wet races, like Roland was not doing well in a number of those
Yeah.
when it became wetter and wetter. If you have noticed, it was going through halfway past the season, and even with a good car, it's getting difficult to maintain control and traction. And a lot of drivers having disadvantages with the powertrain. If they Mitch Evans like crashed in Tokyo, I remember I actually kept a picture of that crash. But it's going to be interesting with the new regulations. There's going to be a lot of loopholes to exploit, but in some scenarios I can see it deemed unfair. Remember in Miami when Da Costa was leading the race and he was overtaken because guys like the Wehrlein and some of the other guys, Wehrlein, Lola, and the Lola Yamaha, they also had like attack mode range remaining, and Da Costa was overtaken. Yeah, there were the penalties, but eventually Wehrlein won and Da Costa finished second.
Yeah.
So the third. Sorry, he finished third. Lola Di Grassi, I think, in fact, overtook Da Costa, and he was leading with like 3 or 4 laps remaining. I'm thinking there's gonna be like bloodbath in Mexico.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes, right? Because
the other thing I've been trying to find out is the software that Formula E teams use, and it's been difficult.
Yeah,
it's been really difficult to find.
I couldn't tell you that one either. But Master, we have to let you go because
okay.
The weight room's filling up even more now.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much for having me.
No worries, absolute pleasure. Love having you on, and we'll speak to you soon.
Of course.
Okay. All right. See you later.
See you later.
Right, I'm gonna get Chris in. I was gonna get Nikki in, but I'm gonna get Chris in because I want to talk. Because I know Chris is a big Jake Dennis fan, and I think it's about time maybe we give Jake Dennis a little bit of love.
Yes,
Chris,
we certainly do, don't
we? Chris, how are you? I'm assuming you want to talk about Jake Dennis, because I know you're a Jake Dennis fan. So I'm like, right, I think it's time to get some Jake Dennis action in. How are you?
Absolutely. I'm good. How did you guess that?
You start learning who's a fan of who, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to me. Because I was worried, and I wasn't worried. I was actually worried. I was worried. I said I wasn't worried. I was, right? Because when the way he was qualifying and he was wrestling that car, and it reminded me of the Ferraris in Formula 1, where I was like, oh, like, that doesn't look quick. But somehow Jake just managed to make it look quick.
Well, yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. It didn't look quick. A few corners, I say, especially in that quarter final, I thought, because he wasn't very fast in that first sector, and he seemed to make it up in the last two. Yeah, I just watched him go around the hairpin at turn 3. I thought, he's dropped a few tenths there, and somehow, I don't know whether it's his unique line, where obviously he took a bit of time in there, was able to keep more speed through turn 7, but I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you.
Because he did a 110.218 versus Da Costa's 110.3. So and it was close, but then all of a sudden, I don't know if Da Costa just had a scruffy lap somewhere, because Da Costa wasn't one of 6 out of the he was not quick at all really compared to some of the other people in the quarterfinal stage. So but then to get to the final, and then obviously with Verline's penalty, I don't think he would have got pole if Verline didn't have the penalty. Of course, you didn't have to attack that lap because you knew you were going to start the race on first. You just had to. You could have done it in 1 minute 20 and you'd still be on pole. So,
3 points.
But apart from fighting for 3 points, I suppose. But but do you risk 3 points for starting on pole position and crashing the car? I don't think I would.
I don't know. I think those 3 points, especially with, I do worry with the Andretti this season. Obviously, I know they've had that massive falling out with Porsche.
Yep.
And they won't be with Porsche next season.
Yeah, it was quite funny because Sam Bird was kind of hinting at that in the commentary. It's like, I don't know if there'll be, maybe there'll be someone else. The new Nissan reserve driver.
Yeah. That I don't know if that. Yeah, I don't know if that's been confirmed yet. But yeah, I think
no, it hasn't yet. No. But it was quite funny.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I say from what I've heard, they are going to Nissan. But I mean, they can't stay with Porsche anyway because Porsche will have 3 drivetrains anyway, so they will have to leave Porsche no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll be too sad to see that. So
Porsche got a good powertrain though, and you can kind of rely on Porsche to build something good, I think.
Yeah, but I do worry through the season. Unfortunately, I think they're going to fall backwards. I think this is a lot more Jake putting the car where it shouldn't be, rather than the car being there. Because I say, you look at Jake. You look at Pascal's lap and Dan's lap.
Yep, Dan's lap was incredible.
Yeah, I don't think they could have got 109 out of that Andre.
Yep. No, I agree, because it was in the 110s, like, so, or 110.2s, and you're like, well, that's 4 temps to Dan Ticktum's time
on a short lap, on a very short and not very with not too many corners, so like that is ages, and it really worries me on a track like Mexico or Diriyah or Miami actually coming up next. These wide F1 shortened circuits that, I think it's going to be a great start to the season. I think we'll see the true Jake Dennis back come season 13 when they're with Nissan.
Okay.
I think that's going to be the key thing. I think this is going to be, obviously I'm absolutely thrilled about that result. Absolutely thrilled. But I think it is a lot more, they had a lot of luck.
Yep.
A lot of luck. Obviously with the path they had, Da Costa probably should have put in a better lap than he did.
Yep.
He probably shouldn't got past Da Costa, and was it De Vries? No, it was Mortara in the semis, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Mortara in the semis. It was Mortara, and Mortara had a bit of a stinker, to be fair himself. Actually, it wasn't too bad. They were really close. 110.068 to 110.039. So that was Dennis's best lap, to be fair, and Mortara probably should have got to the 9s with the pace of the Mahindras, to be honest.
Yeah, he got
top 4 though.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure. I'd say if Da Costa was on form, I'm not sure he would have beaten Da Costa.
Yeah.
So I think
maybe
he had
one.
Yeah, and I think luck as well. Obviously, I know the strategy. Obviously, hold late. Obviously, if you are leading a race and at the front, you do hold your attack modes. But they got very, very lucky with that.
The safety car. Yeah, as soon as the safety car came out, I was like, this is Dennis's race to lose. He can't lose this.
Yeah.
But going back to quality, Group A though, he only scraped through, didn't he? Really, Dennis got 4th position in it, so he could have been complete somewhere else if Oliver Rowland had put his lap together, or
Yeah, that's why I was surprised. I was surprised he was even in the duels with the way that car was handling. I really was.
Yeah, exactly. I completely forgot he came 4th. Yeah, no, Rowland not being able to put a lap in, decent lap in. Say, it is probably one of the luckiest wins in a while, but I'm so glad to see him back on the top step of that podium.
Yep. We'll have to see.
I think it's good though. He'll have a morale boost now going into Mexico. So even if the car is not as performance as he'd want, at least he's got that sort of morale to go, we can do this again.
Well, yeah, top of the championship going into the second race. I don't think it will last very long, but...
And he's done well at Mexico in the past, I think. He's done well at Mexico, so fingers crossed. Maybe for him he can carry on. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. I was screaming on TV for him, but realistically, I think give him season 13, and obviously we'll have to see what it's like Gen 4. But I don't think it's going to be his year, unfortunately. I wish it was. I do wish it was, but
because you're a true fan, you care. You don't want your heart broken on a weekend. Yeah. Of course, you're going to feel like that.
Oh well, I'll support him no matter what, even when he's at the back of the grid.
Good on you.
True fan. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. And I'm
waiting.
I really appreciate it. Right, we'll speak to you soon. Have a great Christmas.
And yourself. Cheers, gents.
Bye.
See you later, Chris. That's what I like about this sport, though. You get, like, there's so many different supporters in different teams. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Nicky, you're on the FE bar. How are we? Good
Hello, mate. You right?
Yeah, not too bad. What would you like to talk about?
I'm actually very happy, actually.
Go on, explain.
You know why? You know I'm a massive McLaren fan, Jack. Come on.
Yeah, I knew why, but I thought, it'd be rude for me not to let you explain. Yeah, obviously a great result for you.
Of course.
For Norris on the weekend and so forth.
And for British Motorsport, to be fair.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for that one for about 17 years, haven't we? So.
Yeah. So what did you make of the FE race?
a few points. If we go back to Rome, in season 10, there was 2 accidents and then it got cancelled.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think that would be the same for safety in Sao Paulo? Is my first point.
No, and I'll tell you what, I'm a bit disappointed that we cancelled Rome, to be honest with you. Like, I hate to say this words, right? I do. Maybe Carl might have something different to say, but Motorsport is dangerous, right? Right? I get that. And things like this happen. So we can't go round cancelling every track because of a bad crash, right? Otherwise, we won't have any racetracks left. We could, because by that you could go through every racetrack in the world, and there'll be a dangerous accident that's happened, right?
Yeah.
And if you keep doing that, you'll cancel every race, and we won't have motorsport because, there's no race. I don't know. Am I talking rubbish, Carl?
No, I
actually agree with you, Jack. But I just wanted to see whether your point of view was the same as mine, basically.
Yeah, because I don't know, Carl. What do you think?
Well, I think every motorsport is dangerous. They all know what they're signing up for. We've got a little destruction derby ring literally about 10 miles away, and that's just as dangerous as Sao Paulo. So,
well, I literally live like 10 minutes away from Donington Park, and I went up to see the Superbikes this year. So
So,
I'm a massive fan of motorsport. So
the FIA puts the safety in the best they can, and I think. Just showing the crashes from Pascal last year and Marty, which they're the worst crashes when it's in the air. It's anyone's business. So
I don't even think Pascal's last year was that bad. Like he just got there's no different to in Monaco. Excuse me, in Formula One where you see cars get flipped up on the side at Portier, right? It was a bit faster Pascal's Verlaine's one, but. There wasn't much difference.
I think the worst crash I ever saw regarding any motorsport was back in 2022 in Silverstone when Joe Granier got flipped.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the worst one I've ever seen.
So, yeah, there's tons. There's tons. Especially when you... Yeah, Grosjean, yeah. But, but that's what I mean. Those tracks have really high safety standards, but it just shows you anything can happen, right? Anything can happen.
Well, do you think it was just because... Pepe was inexperienced and it was his first race?
Yes, I think that's literally what I'll put it down to.
And I think let him be rookies. I think he's going to learn. He's got his penalty, and he'll be fine. He'll move on, and he'll become a good racer because of it. So.
And another question I want to ask you, not as controversial. Do you think that we should have a feeder series specifically for Formula E to train rookies in racing a Formula E car?
I was going to bring that up as a hypothetical, and I always think yes, definitely. And I know, Jack, you've got some sort of not concrete but insider scoop from what Jeff was saying at London last year, and I completely agree with
Valencia,
that.
But in terms of the Gen 3 Evo, it's a potential. But then people say good things. Oh yeah, the cars are there, great, but then you need to fund these teams. You need to fund the engineers. You need to fund the drivers that come in. And who's funding them?
Could we not have it like they have in F2 where they have like development drivers that drive for a team and then
the question is who's funding it?
You know what I mean?
Because at this precise moment, I don't think Formula E can fund it. So if they can find some other funding, basically to call it, the I don't know. Let's just say Barclays, because why not, right? The Barclays Formula E2 Championship, right? So Barclays are funded, and then the teams have been able to be correct as Barclays. I don't know, right?
So basically, what you're saying, Jack, is a bit like the Jaguar E Trophy we had in 2019,
which is basically funded by Jaguar. Yes.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. That sort of sponsorship.
Yeah, it needs a lot. I think you can't just chuck a support series out. You need to.
No, I'm not saying that. I was using it as a hypothetical in the future.
Oh yeah, look.
Do you think
I think it would be brilliant because Formula E races, I must admit, right? Like you guys pay money to. I don't, right? To watch Formula E. I don't know if I'd pay the ticket prices to watch Formula E because once, they are going up and up and up, and I'm thinking about the track action that I'm getting, and I think it's not a lot.
No.
When I think about how long the cars are actually on track, 45 minutes, 40 minutes for 2 hours of track action, I'm paying 100 and something quid potentially. And
Okay then. Do we make the races longer somehow?
but
or not?
that could be a substitute. Yes, but in those intermediate, and you've got these gaps in between where there's not much to do. I know in London per se the fan village is quite good, but I've been to other tracks like Berlin, Monaco. There's not much to do. You just hang around and wait.
Do they
That's
open it to other
why I
series?
said maybe we'd have some type of small support series in between them.
Maybe.
Well, then it would just be the ticket.
Maybe. But yeah, it's
Just
definitely
not a content creator race.
Yeah, it's definitely a conversation. But we're gonna have to stop it there because I kind of want to get some of the others on.
Yeah,
before
no problem.
We go. But Nikki, thank you. I know you
No
waited a
problem.
long time, but I really appreciate it.
No problem.
We're getting busy and busy now. I'm gonna have to maybe start cutting people off.
I know, mate. No problem.
All right. Thank you.
I
very
get it.
much.
I
Bye-bye.
understand, mate.
No worries. Thank you so
Have a good
much.
night.
Bye. I'm gonna get Connor on because Connor is a member. Connor, you're on the MB bar. I can't even don't name my show
Sorry,
anymore.
Jack. You're on the FE bar.
on the FE bar. I don't know the name of my own show.
I think he's been to the bar too much. Give him that.
To be
pronunciation.
fair, it's
Bloody
10
hell.
o'clock, so my brain is starting to switch off.
Oh, yeah.
What would you like to talk about? Thank you for
Bedtime.
coming on. Yeah.
I know you probably want to get some other viewers, so I'm going to list off some things quite quickly. I know you're talking about a support series with Nikki. I think the thing you've got to remember is you don't necessarily, because Formula E is quite a close packed sport, or it can be, depending on the track. You don't necessarily need to have like a full 20 car grid.
Yep.
To have exciting, if for cost reasons, if you could make it a 10 car grid in the beginning at least,
Well, I
to
thought
try and
12
trial it, maybe
was
that could work.
Even like a 12.
Yeah, or 12.
Of it might
Yeah.
be a bit nice. Yeah.
So that could be a thing. I know you're talking about how with Pascal's crash you were comparing it to a crash in Monaco at Portier.
Yep.
That was also interestingly also Pascal Verlaine.
Yes. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yes, it was.
Crash then, isn't it?
So that was interesting. And then also, so the thing I mainly wanted to talk about, something I'm not a fan of, is in the mid race was the little Google Gemini. I don't know if people have really
that's
the
just
Google
sponsorship.
Gemini
Yeah, the sponsorship
AI
stuff.
boxes in during the race, because we talked about it in the Discord earlier today even, and it was just some of the things that came up was you kind of looked at it and it was like, okay, I see where you're coming from, but that's just wrong.
I think is
because
it
you've
Google,
got like
is it Google
There's
challenging the AWS that F1 have? That was the similar vibe.
I think that it's that's kind of, but it feels like it. Because the thing with AWS is they kind of take. I don't know. AWS doesn't brand itself as AI though, and I don't think
it's a data
is in the
center,
same
isn't it?
way that
Yeah.
it's more like a data center. But I honestly kind of getting a bit sidetracked. The whole AI thing's a bit.
I'm not
It's the
going to
whole thing.
argue.
There are
against
things that like
Gemini.
are AI and things that are like not AI, but they're
Can you
being
imagine the
branded as
FE bar,
AI.
even though it's my own show, right? And it's our show, but it's all of a sudden it's Jack the robot taking your
that would be great. Yeah.
calls.
But when you've got it saying that Nick Cassidy is in second place, and according to Google Gemini has a 32% chance of winning, or 35 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But then you look behind and you see Jake Dennis with a full attack mode still
Yeah.
left to deploy, and you look at that and go, "No, you're wrong."
Well, it was like there was another thing when they said they thought the pole position time would be a 109.5, and they were like, "I don't think so." And the commentator was like, "I don't think so."
Yeah.
So-
Was it 10? I know that Pascal didn't go fastest in the final, but it was like a 109.8 or a 7 or something in
something
that.
like that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So yes, less AI, please.
So less AI. Well, that was sponsored by Google, so I think it'd be interesting to see if the races that are not sponsored by Google, if that comes up.
Because
it was sponsored by Google, effectively, that race.
Then
was it the Google Gemini Sao Paulo E-Prix or
It
something?
literally was.
No,
Yeah,
I think it was Google Cloud. I don't think it was Google Cloud.
But the basic, but same, right? Like,
Google have a lot
same
of money,
difference.
though, so I'm happy for them to do that.
So you're happy that Google is supporting the series, and it'd be interesting to see if more of that comes up, and if that's going to be a collab, because in terms of the health of Formula E, and we got to talk about that because it's important. But like, you want big name sponsors sponsoring races and so forth, so you know that. So I think that's good, and let's see. Maybe this AI thing can maybe be improved. Maybe Google Gemini doesn't know enough about Formula E.
Yeah, I think that might be one. I think once again, comparing it to AWS, I kind of liked it more in terms of the way it was presented, because I don't like in Formula One when there's like, you know, a driver comes in. So like in the race of the weekend, the finale for Formula One, you had Piastri sort of came in, and it was like you came out, and it was kind of like a couple for a bit. They had like the undercut sort of app thing graphic that popped up, and it said, "Oh, if Verstappen pits now, he'll be a second ahead or a second behind Piastri." And it's like I don't like that.
Formula E though,
personally, yeah, because it kind of takes away some of the mystery.
I think those information boxes are trying to get fans to pick up the more technical side of the sport and get to know the sport a little bit more. So
but I think if they just they could do that without needing to run it through Google Gemini first. But you know,
I think the Gemini bit's just branding though. I don't think it was AI. I don't think they were just like.
I mean, if it was an actual person and the Google Gemini bit was just branding, then they need to hire a different person.
To be honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me if it was AI, but they just found it like a nice funky way to get it out and to make it look cool. So that was all I was thinking about.
I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. That's my sort of takeaway for it.
It did remind me of AWS, so I'm kind of used to that from Formula One. So it didn't really add or take anything away from me. It probably did annoy me more because I suppose, like, we know a lot about Formula E, so like, I'll just be quiet.
To be honest, there's so much happening in Formula E that you can't really pay attention to any text on screen. I'm too busy looking like what's going on. There's like an overtake here, an overtake there.
Yeah, you look at the text box, you look up, and there'll be a car, stranded upside down, probably.
Well, we had a yellow flag, and then all of a sudden we had a red flag.
Yeah, I know sort of sitting on the sofa watching the replay, and then sort of hard cutting to Pepe Marti out of his car, which is on fire, while there are other cars like still driving past. Like, he got out of that car really quickly.
He did,
to the point there were still cars driving past him as he was walking.
I think he even unclipped his radio too quick because his engineer didn't get a message back off him. So
did he not?
Yeah.
No. If you watch the radio message video, it's quite interesting to see like the whole communication thing over the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not against him getting out of the car, especially one that's on fire like ASAP, but that's a bit, I didn't really like that.
No. But yeah. Right, Connor Doe, thank you for coming on, and thank you for for waiting as well. Really appreciate it. Have a great Christmas.
You too. Thank you very much.
We'll speak to you soon, all right?
Yeah. Cheers.
Right, bye.
Bye.
Well, it looks like last but not least, we've got our very own Edward Hunter, who can have a say what he says. We did have Johnny as well, but Johnny's disappeared, so if Johnny doesn't come back, we'll just finish up with Ed. Hello, Ed.
If Johnny comes back, just pull me out mid-sentence and put him in.
No, I was always going to come to you before him. It's just because you were in the waiting room longer.
Oh, that's nice.
So I was always going to come to you before. It's hard to try and do these orders. You just see and you're like, well, here we go. But how did you find Sao Paulo?
No, it was overall. I mean, we just didn't even Chris about who was it? It was on last. Sorry,
yeah, it was Connor,
not Chris. So it began with C. We heard from Connor about the Gemini AI, which I was particularly mocking pretty much throughout the broadcast with the fans. But yeah, we had a good time watching it, and I think it was a pretty decent season. Sao Paulo always tends to be a good race, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, I think it's interesting that the headlines have sort of been dominated by big scary crash for Pepe Marti, and not necessarily for great strategy calls. So I think the top three all pretty much nailed it.
I think we need that though in the sport, though. I think you need those headlines. Not as bad as they are. I think you need something to go. Have you seen this crash in Formula E? Because it gets clicks and then you can get involved in the sport. So annoyingly, it kind of does a good thing.
That's why I put out our video to try and see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and Josh
Oh.
and
Yeah.
company just trying to analyse the incident. I noticed you got a little bit of De Vries in there as
I
well
added it in
at the
just
end.
to make the video a bit longer. Just to make the
Fair enough. I guess you got a quota your meeting. Just the time limit. Anyway, I don't have too much to say. I think most of the important stuff has been kind of covered already. I'm glad that the Maserati team's still there in the form of Citroen, and they got another podium in the form of Nick Cassidy. Because I think after we lost McLaren entirely from the grid, it was because I remember when I was in London and as I was leaving, there was one of the mechanics from McLaren, and basically he was saying to his friends, "I don't know what I'm going to be doing next year," and it really hits you that a whole team's left. And it, obviously, it's sad for the drivers, but Sam Bird's got the reserve gig with Nissan. Taylor Barnard's obviously at DS Penske, but there are a lot of people out of a job. And
luckily, I can answer that question
Hughes.
for you. Majority
Was that a question?
of all that McLaren team got signed by someone, so I think.
Oh, okay, different teams. Oh, that's really good news.
All got signed up, so no one was left scrambling for a job. Like even the media team, like some of the media team are at Formula E now. Like and maybe some stayed in McLaren in terms of they still need people for the WEC project and media people for the WEC project and so forth. So maybe people just getting redistributed, but a lot of the mechanics found their way to another team.
Oh, that's good.
They pulled out, didn't they? They didn't necessarily go bump, so it's like the McLaren.
They did get a fair bit of notice, about a year, didn't they? So anyway, apart from that, I just want to say well done, Kyle, because is this your first FE bar? Have you done a load while I've been missing the last few?
I've been a guest, but I've never been a co-host. So
he's done a brilliant job.
He has, yes.
You take a lot in, though. I've got so many things I was going to bring up, and you've
got a notepad. You've been writing a notepad.
I've got pages and pages, and the scrunched up paper from my series because it's just useful to just.
Yeah.
And watching the sport this year for me, because obviously last year I was like just a fan. I watched it normally, and then obviously I started my channel, and it's a completely different experience on a weekend. So it's mad. So it's good to have all the information, but I feel like I need to watch it again, Brazil, just one more time, just because there's just so many things we didn't mention. We touched on Envision, but there's that as well, and obviously Maloney getting points.
Yeah, Maloney's first points. I was really happy for him, and I was so annoyed when De Vries got him at the end because I thought, well, that's that done then. And luckily, I think was it Dragovic that got infringement for speeding under yellows, was it?
Yeah.
Or was he overtaking? He overtook Verline under yellows. That was it.
I think he'd still be in the top 10 if he hadn't had that penalty, and that's why I still think he's he did a really good job in Sao Paulo. It's just obviously the penalties came in. But
I think Dragovic, I've said this before, I think he spent way too many years on the Aston Martin reserves bench when he should have joined Formula E much earlier, because ever since he won F2, his career momentum stalled.
One seat. That's how I see that team.
A little bit. Well, even then, Fernando Alonso wasn't going anywhere either. So.
No, bit naughty.
But I think it was a sort of case of that was the best offer he had. But I can understand being a reserve for 1 year, but he did 2 or 3 years. Only opportunity he had was when Lance had his hand had to have an operation in the middle of Spain earlier this year, and they were like, "Now we just not ran a car altogether."
No, that was because he'd done a quali.
He'd done quali, but he should probably, if we're being critical of Lance, he probably should have he probably should have been a bit more honest and said, "Look, I'm not feeling up to this early in the weekend," from Dragovic's point of view. But anyway, good to see Andretti pick him up, and obviously they had a good start to the season with Dennis, and I did predict Dennis to win the championship a couple of years ago, didn't I, in season 9, and that was correct. I don't know who I've predicted this time. I think I sort of thought Roland might do it again, and him finishing P2. I think he always just seems to be
showing.
Yeah, it's good showing. I think he even admitted he was a bit lucky though.
I think Sao Paulo has not given us any representative.
No, it rarely does, because Evans won from the back of the grid last year, didn't he?
And I think Jag was just unfortunate this year. Like this race, Cupra unfortunate. I've got sad face and smiley faces on here. Mahindra.
Oh, that's a very thorough system, Carl.
Oh yes, it works really well.
All the emotional spectrums: happy, sad, indifferent.
See it if it'll focus.
We had the winners and losers, which we kind of touched upon. We kind of knew that Kiro were the losers. We kind of knew Mahindra. Obviously, we talked about Mahindra, and I touched upon DS Penske, but Andretti, Porsche, and then people talked about Citroen. We had someone call about Citroen, so that was good. We kind of covered all our bases that we wanted to talk about, but that's why we knew you guys and people, the fans, would definitely want to talk about these types of things. So It's hard to make too many notes for this shows because you're the ones, you dictate where the show goes. We don't dictate. We just talk.
Yeah, I feel like
for the
most
ride,
of the
aren't we,
time,
Jack?
most of the time you dictate,
ride.
Jack, and I follow.
Yeah, well.
I just think we have a fantastic grid this year. Not that we didn't last year, but I think we've got such a good grid and good drivers spread across all teams. So yeah, I just want to get into it. It's just that 3 week. Is it 3 weeks for this one, and then I think another 3 weeks. So there's big gaps between.
This is like a 5 week gap, really, isn't it? 10th of Jan.
I think Christmas soothes it down a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. You kind of understand,
but it's enough.
You feel like you want to
everybody...
race before.
Yeah.
You feel like you want to race before Christmas. We did do one very close.
Yeah, back in the day, we had
Punta
del Este. That was like literally
yeah.
week before Christmas. Everyone.
I don't know why they don't do a Sao Paulo doubleheader though. I don't get why they don't. Like, get the championship going by having 2 races and then have Christmas, because then you got a lot to talk around the Christmas table while you're pulling the cracker. You go, did you see Dennis's win?
There should be another South American race. Like there used to be one in Buenos Aires that was great as well. And
it'd be nice.
Yeah,
it'd be nice if we could do a back-to-back. So like this week would have been Sao Paulo, then next week could have been like Argentina.
And also, as Nicky alluded, it's sort of been overshadowed slightly by the Formula One Championship conclusion, which was obviously going to be what everyone's attention was focused on.
I think that's why it felt so intense this weekend, though, because I keep one eye on Formula One. I've kind of moved away from it because I found my home in Formula E, and I'm not just saying that because I do the content, but I just find that the racing's more me. But
yeah, I felt similar about 10 years ago, and I'm still here.
Yeah. Right, Ed, we're going to end the show.
Sure thing. It's been a pleasure to be on.
Thank you.
And again, well done to you and to Kyle as well. Thanks for letting me on, and
no
well
worries.
done for Kyle for doing this good job.
Glad you enjoyed the show.
It's a great community, and it's you've built it up, and I've been a part of it, I guess, for a while.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's amazing to see how far it's all coming. But we'll see you later, Ed.
Good night, gents.
Night.
Good night.
We did it! Your first FE bar in the bag. How did you find it?
It's been really good, and as I've been saying in my videos, the community, you guys, everyone who watches this and is part of the Formula E community and the Formula E Zone community has been amazing. And just to hear everybody and to be able to talk with just real fans and just hear the sides of the sport that you don't watch, because obviously I like Jag. That's why I put my coloured shirt on. It's very jaggy. And I obviously celebrate them, but obviously you hear the other celebrations of like Envision and the teams that don't get the limelight like the top teams. So yeah, it's great. And it's been good fun, honestly, just to sit and listen and have real journalists come in and actually give us proper scoop. Confirmed or unconfirmed news is just fantastic.
So, yeah, we'll definitely have you back on. So if Pico, or if I can't even make it, then because there will be races that I don't think I'll make. I know I'm out for Monaco because I'm staying in Monaco for an extra day. In Tokyo, if I go to Tokyo, I definitely won't be here for an FE bar. So there's definitely be opportunities. So, and I think everybody has loved having you on. So. And keep up the good work. I got on my phone. I can't touch anything on my computer at the minute, but I did try. I put the current lap. That's the channel's name. So make sure you go. Just try and get that to 320 maybe at least. I don't know I don't know how live it is. I don't know how quickly it updates that.
My screen behind says 317, and that was I think 312 before this live stream. So you thank you very much.
No worries. So yeah, there we go. So we're doing our bit, growing together. That's the most important thing. But thank you so much for watching. If you haven't hit the subscribe button or the like button on the stream, and you've been watching for ages, like what are you doing? And you'll find a chance to join the Discord as well if you haven't already. Come join us. It's an amazing community. I know most people in chat that I can see have already in the Discord, but it'd be great to have some new faces and so forth. But thank you very much for watching. Have an absolute wonderful Christmas. Stay tuned. There may be some news, maybe some Christmas specials. Who knows? In the pipeline. But thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the new year. Good night.